Hey everyone, welcome to our very first bonus episode on the podcast. We're going to be doing a few different things with these bonus episodes every other week. Interviews, some world building stuff, maybe some one-shot games. But today, I'm joined for our very first interview by Lexa from the Dead Horse podcast.
Hey, I'm Lexa!
How's it going?
I'm good. We just finished our finale of season 2.
I saw that. I saw you tweeting about it. Yeah. Is it
really exciting?
Yeah. Is this a sort of... You sort of came to the sort of conclusion of a story, or was it... Are you carrying on with those characters afterwards, or what's the plan?
Well, first season was my husband, Mike. He DM'd.
Mm.
And then Jamie, who plays Hannah, was really keen to carry on the story. So Mike became a player character, and we carried on the characters, basically.
Yeah.
But we'd been transported to a new land, and that's why Mike's character was there. And then coming up to wants to DM. I think when we used to play it back in the day, we always used to take turns, except for me. I don't DM.
Yeah.
And he's doing World of Darkness or Chronicles of Darkness.
Oh, that's cool. What, so sort of like vampire, werewolf, that kind of thing? And
I think he's more corporation, Shadowrun-y kind of setting, like a cyberpunk setting. So we're going to be a team of medics who are hired by corporations to go and save people.
That's cool.
Or rescue people.
Kind of clean up people's messes and things.
Yeah, I'm playing the newbie in charge, captain in charge, and sort of Mike and Jamie are playing like gruff old medics, paramedics that have been doing it a while. So I think I'm going to be bullied a little bit.
I do like that idea of the kind of rotating DMs, though. That's sort of, I suppose, once per season, you're going to get, every time you go into a new season, you're going to get a little bit of a different sort of style to the whole thing.
Yeah, but we do want to have the D&D campaign with the same characters, I think, overarching everything.
Yeah.
Which I think it's good to switch up because you need a break.
Yeah.
Like, it's sort of, I feel like towards the finales of seasons, like it drags on. It feels like it can drag on. And then you get that momentum back when you're like, yo, it's going to be the end. It's going to be the big showdown. And
coming up to a big conclusion sort of thing. Yeah,
and the spiking listeners we had, I think people were feeling sort of the same way. Like, they're like, oh, it's ending. What's going to happen?
I mean, we kind of been doing a similar thing. I mean, where our thing is sort of like, we'll do like a short storyline and then switch to another game kind of thing.
Yeah.
And generally, I tend to have been the DM for all of it mostly. But we did we played Shadowrun a little while back over the end of the summer.
I listened to a Shadowrun campaign. I think that's the only one I've listened to. Because we played Shadowrun and it kind of went really badly.
I remember you saying about getting given grenades or something and having them taken away.
Gave us grenades and then he took them away, and then we were getting so, like, I think not me. I remember at the time I was like, can we just interpret the rules a little bit? But they were very like looking up every single rule for like the guns and missing, and it was just like very over the top, like people getting really bogged down in the rules.
I found that the rule book pretty kind of impenetrable, really. I mean, our kind of style would rather sort of keep the story moving and just sort of be like, oh well, that's good enough, we'll go with that for now to keep it moving. Because obviously I found it's the difference between sort of playing at a table where you can spend 5-10 minutes looking up rules and people can go get drinks and things, or like and the podcast difference is you're trying to put something on that's fun for people to listen to as well. So it's kind of
definitely
I think it works better to sort of be a bit more flexible with the rules and stuff if you're recording it, at least. But that's just my way of looking at it, I guess. But
and I think when we were young as well, we played Shadowrun, like we had so much more time. Like we used to play for like 4 hours, even though we all lived, we all lived in Japan and our friend Ty lives in New Zealand. So we had no kids, so we could just play all night and it didn't matter. But now we've got like trying to time sync between UK, Japan, New Zealand, so we're always like, let's just get down to it.
You've got players that call in then, have you, on yours?
Yeah, we just use Skype recorder. Like, it's really basic. Like, I have a friend who's an audio like he did audio producing at uni, and I was like, he's like, you need to record separately. I'm like, I can't, it's too scary.
Yeah. I'd prefer, if ever, recording separately is it's one of those things that it does end up with better quality in the end. I mean, we're obviously recording you separately to myself for this, so that's fine on one-on-one calls. It's easy to do that. But when you got 3 or 4 people calling in, it's it's a nightmare, really, because then you got to sync up all the files and all this, and I got scarred from when I did my manga podcast. This guy told me about this program, like it's like in a browser where you could all call in at the same time, and it would record the audio for you separately. So kind of like a Google Hangout type thing. Very audio based. Yeah. So it would send you all the separate files, and one of them got so corrupted, and I swear it was not like the signal or anything, because I could hear him fine during the call, and it just turned out like he was rapping. The quality was so bad, like jumping all over the shop. Yeah. So I feel like the audio quality is not too bad on mine, I feel. It's about kind of finding that balance of like easiness, how easy it is to do it and getting as good a quality as possible, really. I mean, especially when you're international, and like we're all so busy, and I don't want to have to be like, can you do this or this? So like, going back to the manga podcast then. So did you do that before you met? Let's make this an actual interview then. So let's go back to the beginning. So obviously Dead Horse is a bit more recent, and you said you lived in Japan. Did you do the manga podcast first and then go on to Dead Horse, or was it the other way around? So me and my friend Lara, we're best friends from school, and we grew up loving anime and manga, like good fangirls. And when I came back from Japan, so we started being like, let's go do cultural things. And we'd attend like symposiums about comics, graphic novels. And we were like, no one ever talks about manga at like the more prestigious level of comics. So we were like, we could totally do this. And so we started doing the podcast. We started streaming on Twitch first, and then I would like export it to audio. And like, I don't know if because the manga community is so small in London, it's actually worked out really well, because we get asked to like talk on panels quite regularly, and got a bit of a niche audience then. So everybody kind of knows each other. Is that the sort of way of it? In London, like it's the same circle of people, and like I remember when I was asked to talk at this event promoting like the Japan embassy has like a manga competition every year. Okay. And like you could win like tickets to Japan and like like a Sony camera or like a Sony laptop, all Japanese stuff. So and it's like really, really popular. Yeah, big competition then. And we were all talking before the actual event started, and we were just like, we're just talking, like we're just preaching to the choir here. I don't know why we're even having this conversation about why we think manga should be more popular and respected and stuff. But so we took quite a long hiatus of that, because we had quite a bad experience at one of the anime cons. Oh no! What happened? Yeah. Well, if you want to talk about it, but the culture is problematic. Okay. Like with the people that run it and the type of people that attend, it just, especially ones that we used quite a lot, there was like a lot of like bad rumors about like grooming and I don't know why it just and we got called out on Twitter by someone. They were like, I can't believe you're supporting an event by this guy who's like a real creep and blah 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 and treats girls really horrible, and that kind of took the wind out of my sails a little bit. I was like, oh God, like this is a creepy community, and like because you don't need the drama as well, really. But we're getting back into it now. But we decided to record like the Dead Horse was really weird, because like I was a new mum and we come back to Japan. My son was only like 1 year old, going on 18 months, and like obviously all of us had kids within 6 months of each other, and we weren't up for RPing obviously, and everyone got super busy at the same time.
And my husband was like, yeah, let's RP again. Yeah, we're going to totally do it. And I just like, my head wasn't in it. I was like, yeah, sure. Like, 'cause we tried to do it a few times and it totally flopped. And he's like, well, let's record it. Like, you know how to do it. So let's record it. And then it wasn't until we actually sat down that I was like, oh, okay, we're actually doing it. And we managed to do it like every 2 weeks.
That's pretty good.
Which is, yeah. So we all managed to get childcare, or one person's like child will already be in bed. And yeah, it's crazy that we managed to actually do it.
I mean, that's a pretty decent, you know, that keeping a regular schedule like that with, especially with kids and such, that's pretty impressive. That's way more impressive than what we managed to do over here, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, currently one of our main cast, Jason's his wife's just had a baby. So we had a bit of a kind of rush to get as much of the recording done on the D&D side of things that he'd be involved in sort of before she had the baby. But I mean, I've been going, so we record as far in advance as possible. We just finished our D&D stuff that we recorded with him, as in it's just finished going out. And I looked at the recording dates on that because I was talking with Eden, one of the other cast members, about it, and he was saying, oh, yeah, it's been a few months. And I looked on the recording, and we'd recorded on the 5th of August. And that was the last time we recorded D&D. And we've got Call of Cthulhu. This interview will go up the week after the first Call of Cthulhu episode goes up. That we started recording in November. We had one session then. We had our second session last weekend, which is, I mean, we're 2 weeks into January now, so it's pretty sporadic, really. But I mean, I try and...
You doing that with Amy and someone else?
Yeah, Amy and Eden from our D&D group, and Mark, who was in our Star Wars group.
Cool.
Sort of patching together a new group from people I've done other stuff with. But it was kind of like, I think I put something out on Facebook originally, being like, hey, we're doing Call of Cthulhu, any takers kind of thing, and maybe took a couple of posts before I got anybody biting.
Well, I was going to say to you, I was like, I didn't know if you were going to do it in person, because I think you record in person, don't you?
We do normally, yeah. I mean, how this Call of Cthulhu has actually worked out is that actually Eden, who normally comes over in person when we do D&D, is Skyping in, essentially. Yeah, so it was kind of a little bit unplanned that it would be, over half the group is, Skyping in. But yeah, I think it's working out all right. I mean, Mark, who's playing, what's his character's name? I haven't got my notes in front of me. Alistair, that's who he's playing. He only lives like 2 roads away from me, so he just walks around. So that's a little bit easier. But
so me and my group are really close friends. I think that's why it works out so well.
Yeah.
And none of us have got that much going on at the minute, apart from having kids. But like, I think it's just like also an excuse to like still talk to each other.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's not really an excuse. There's a reason,
Yeah, it is that, and it. Yeah, so I really, really look forward to those every other Sundays.
Yeah,
like I can't wait. Like even if my like friends like going out on a night out or something, I'll be like, I'd rather be sober and stay home so I can get up early for D&D. But I will never tell them.
I wish we could play and record more often. Really, I mean, it's just a little bit tricky to organise sometimes. I think. Well, we've all got. I think the main barrier with us is that we all have different weird little working patterns. So I kind of work
night shifts. So.
Yeah, well, I don't work full night shifts. I work generally till about 1 a.m. But Eden, Eden works full night shifts. He's a night porter at a hotel. Probably shouldn't be saying that. I haven't named the hotel. It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, he works full night shifts. The other 2 are kind of on days, so it's sort of finding a day that we're all got an evening free that isn't going to completely screw up somebody's sleeping pattern is a bit tricky sometimes. I mean, in an ideal world, I'd be we'd be recording every other week or something, and I'd have a huge backlog of stuff. But yeah,
do you do like 4 or 5 hour sessions?
Yeah, about 3.5, 4 hours.
How do you record to building it up?
Well, I mean, we record when we're doing D&D and everyone's in the room. I've got like 4 separate mics, that generally tend to just go into one channel. So it's not, considering I did like music tech and audio engineering, it's pretty, I'm not pleased with myself on that one, really. It's a bit basic,
scary and expensive.
So we record that, and we'll record for about 3.5-4 hours, and I'll cut that into 3 episodes basically, because our episodes are about an hour long, and we've gotten a bit better over the time of not having so many tangents and things, which can be a real problem. But it depends on different groups and stuff. We tend to be a bit more focused on the D&D ones, but where we had our first season of our Star Wars story last summer.
Yeah.
And there was a new group, and everybody's still getting used to each other and stuff, and that was a bit more complicated and of a story to try and tell as well, because we were kind of leaning a bit more into the sort of audio drama sort of side of things, rather than like, we're still playing the game, but it was
it's less improv.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, they were still they're still very much playing the game, but it was a bit more kind of not on rails, but I had to be a bit sort of less permissive when it came to like them going, oh no, let's just go over here and do this, or whatever. Did you feel like sympathy with Nikolai then when we did Curse? We're always I don't know what it is about our group, but we're just like, we get so invested in the story, we do, but we love chatting, don't we? Yeah, I think it's one of those it's one of those things where trying to keep people on rails is generally when I'm DMing, I don't like to be too sort of railroady with it. But when you have to, it's like you say, it's a little bit sort of like, okay, herding cats kind of thing.
Yeah, I think my husband is really good with improv. Like if we're just being annoying, like sometimes because you're just dicks to the DM on you, like
oh yeah,
especially when they're playing NPCs, and like he'll just have like his strategy, I think, is just to make a character that's just like, no, fuck you, like a really gruff character. They'll be like, no, you're not doing this or you're not doing that. And I think with Jamie, he, bless him, because Mike will literally turn up and he's like, I may have made like 2 NPCs you might have to fight, but I haven't got the statistics, so I'll just make it up as I go along.
Yeah.
And if we say, can we do this? He goes, yeah, sure, whatever. But Jamie's like written the Chronicle. Like he has made his own universe. Like he's intricate politics, characters, and finding like such a, I think at the beginning of season 2 was like such a struggle.
It's a bit of a shock to the system
for
kind
us
of thing.
to adapt. Yeah, because it's like, how about you go to NPC and be like, how about you go talk to this man in town? He'll have more ideas. We're like, can we stop talking to men in towns in the different houses? Like every house had like like an extra character.
Yeah.
I remember when we first he even had like 6 characters in a set of caravans we were traveling in, and then the next session he was like, we're still confused on who was who, and he's like, I've had to delete 2 characters because maybe there was too many, so their styles are so different. So the finale was very cinematic, which was really interesting.
I find I'm sort of, when I'm DMing, I'm kind of a little bit more towards the second version there. I've kind of, but then that's kind of where we're running a bit. Well, there's maybe combat every 3-4 episodes. It's a little bit more heavier on the role playing, so I do have to have a bit more planned out. And because we're doing ours in a sort of my own homebrew world as well, so trying to keep a sort of vaguely kind of cohesive setting is I don't know. I have fun writing that kind of stuff, and we're also going to be doing some of that on these bonus episodes of sort of world building stuff, where I'm going to get someone else on who's one of the players or whatever, and we're going to sort of look at be like, okay, today let's look at this town. Let's come up with some cool stuff for there and stuff. I don't know.
That's such a good idea. I think one of the ones that I try and make very storytelling-y is our Call of Cthulhu. Like we tend to play like when someone can't. So it'll be usually like it'll be 3 of us. We'll be like, oh, let's just do Call of Cthulhu, because my husband can just like bang them out like spooky stories, and that's when I like make the music super spooky, and I spend like hours making it and like try and feel like a proper story. But you know what I struggle with is like to adding music to my podcast, and you know when there's like a break when everyone's having banter, it's like, do I just turn off the music and fade it out and then fade it back in after the banter? Like
it's tricky to know. Hard. Yeah, because obviously all of ours, I mean, we did our first 6 episodes of our D&D was sort of like fairly basic, and I think after that I even upgraded all our microphones and everything, but after that we had sound effects and music in every episode. So it's just something you kind of get used to. It's sort of knowing like, right, okay, I could probably leave this scene with no music, and then you go. I'm
really good with sound effects. I don't have the patience to add sound effects.
Take a while, but I've got like enough of a toolbox kind of built up at this point. Like I've got a lot of the like the spell sound effects I use are from like Skyrim and Oblivion and stuff like that, or like they're from like mods people have made for them, where I've just been able to be like, I will take those WAV files and drop them. But then I've since,
do you know what? Yeah. I've actually just organised my music folder into Call of Cthulhu.
That's a good idea, because then you can just be like, okay, so let's look at the Call of Cthulhu library. That's basically how I've got my sound effects organised now. Like,
even if I can't find the music I want, it takes me like over half an hour or an hour to find the right music, and that slows down editing so much, because you have a backlog, but at the moment, because we've had really short sessions because of the time difference, I'm literally editing, like splitting, because I'm really brutal with editing. So I'll usually cut like an hour out of shit out of it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like on the line editing. Like on the day we record, like I have to edit that same day.
That's not necessarily a bad thing.
Because I've like run.
Yeah.
It feels bad on a Sunday.
Like immediately you finish the session and immediately like, well, we could have done without that bit, you know.
It's kind of cool because it sounds really, really lame, but I really like listening back to my sessions.
It is fun. I think there's a lot of moaning about editing that goes on in the RPG podcast like community, but like I do enjoy it. It just takes a while. I think it's more that it's just the time it takes, and I think that is self-imposed with me, because like sound effects, but then I write all of our music. I'm not using
that is intense.
Yeah. It was a mistake. I shouldn't have decided to do this. But,
I use all 8-bit music for our D&D campaign.
Ah, right on. Give it kind of like an old school RPG sort of vibe.
So I'm a bit worried about, because I've used Final Fantasy music.
Oh, right.
I'm a bit worried about that. But I found a guy, and he takes all anime soundtracks and makes them into 8-bit.
Okay.
And I actually got his permission to use it. So I've been using his quite a lot.
Yeah, you're probably in the clear. I think where it's like, you know, the 8-bit sort of style is, it's not like you've taken like a full CD of like fully produced orchestra music and then just like put it on in the background. Yeah.
Yeah. It just makes me nervous, but at the same time, who's going to listen? Who's going to care?
I did. We did get a because I've started uploading ours to YouTube. I did get a copyright warning on one of ours, but that was it was the last episode of a Star Wars one, and that was the only one I've gotten one on. And I know I got a copyright warning on that one because that was the one where I was so rushed to get it finished that I just said like, oh fuck it, I'll just use some of the original music.
John Williams, help me!
And it picked it up with the guys talking over it and everything. So they're quite like, it didn't like block the audio, like you can still listen to it on that, but it's just like, yeah, okay, just it was basically like a careful now kind of warning.
It's YouTube bots, man.
Yeah,
they're smart.
But so I'm you know, I'm a little bit more kind of, I feel kind of justified in writing our own, because then I'm like, yeah, okay, well this is our soundtrack. Plus I've been able to put out the soundtrack albums on Bandcamp, which nobody ever listens to. But it's
I know.
It's fine. I can feel better about myself. I can be like, hey, I put out an album this year. It's like, well, yeah, 3 people downloaded it. But, yeah.
Hey, man.
I
always say, like, we've recorded our sessions and we always said it's mostly just for us as players to listen back to, because we're really lame and find ourselves really funny and enjoy playing so much.
Well, that's kind of it at the end of the, if you're having fun, that's that's all that matters, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but at the same time, like, my husband would be like looking at the stats on his SoundCloud app, being like, "Oh, this many people listened. This many people listened." I'm
pretty terrible for that. It's like I have our stats page open on a tab the whole time, and like I have like an evening where I'm just like, "Oh, I'm not feeling great about stuff," and I just can't stop myself refreshing that tab, going like, "Yep, that number's not going up." Just
no.
Yeah, it's not good. I should stop doing it. But
got a lot of on SoundCloud. Like, we've had a massive problem with bots.
All right.
Giving us fake listens, so it's been really frustrating.
Tough to know who's an actual listener and who's a bot, I suppose. Does it really?
Luckily they're not like sophisticated. Like, it will literally say in the stats like freelistens.org or whatever.
Okay. That's obviously a bot.
On one track. But it's frustrating when you look at the overall tracks and you'll be like, well, that one got like 250 listens, but that's because there's been a bot on it.
Yeah. At least you can figure it out, though, if it's saying who's listened to it.
I was just thinking, like, I always ask people this, I'm really nosy. How do you feel about, like, the community? Like, it's so oversaturated and blah, blah, blah.
What, in terms of, like, there's quite a lot of RPG podcasts and... Yeah. I mean, I think... It's kind of a bit of a sort of like the more the merrier kind of thing. If people are having fun doing it, that's good. It does make it a little trickier to get sort of noticed, I think, if there's like 50 other people, doing the same thing, if that makes sense. I mean, 50's a low number probably for this, but I was talking to Nikolai and Dragon about this when we were at Dragon Meet, and I think it's you tend to sort of see the people who put up 5 to 6 episodes and then stop doing it. They tend to drop away on that. It's just, yeah. I mean, that we kind of noted that there's a bit of a sort of 18-month kind of hump. People kind of make it to about 18 months or so, and then they'll either carrying it on or they'll stop. And yeah.
Oh.
This might just be like, that's all that we've seen, and it's totally not a thing. But it's it's kind of interesting. But then you see the same names cropping up. So I think the people who are kind of serious about it and do sort of, put the effort in, do tend to kind of rise to the top. Not rise to the top. It's not a competition. I know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it's good to meet more people doing the same thing. Is how I like to think of it. Because everybody's got their own take on it and stuff.
I do enjoy the community, especially on Twitter. I do get frustrated with it sometimes because I just feel like it's a dark void of people shouting out other people constantly.
Oh, like a bit of a circular Follow Friday thing. Yeah.
I don't mind Follow Friday. That's kind of fun because I love GIFs. But like on other things, it's like, well, I want to listen to a new podcast. I'm like, do you though, or are you just trying to set up a massive shout out thread?
I have seen a few of those people recently where there's quite obviously one or two people who they've got to be constantly searching like the terms looking for new podcast or something.
There are so many. Like once I actually replied like to like an act, because all these people, this person's like, I would like to listen to a mystery podcast, and there's like all these D&D people like listen to my podcast. I'm like, no, I'm going to make a legit suggestion.
Yeah.
Like a true crime podcast that everyone's heard of. Because this person ain't going to listen to D&D podcasts.
Yeah, they weren't asking for RPG stuff. They just, I'm pretty bad at Twitter anyway, but like, I'm always a little bit wary with those kind of threads because like, I'm all for like promoting my friends and stuff, but generally, like you say, the person asking the question isn't asking for RPG podcasts most of the time. They're just saying, I'm looking for a new podcast, and they immediately get piled on by like 5 or 6 different RPG podcasts who also then push out another 10 names to them. And I feel, if I put out like a tweet just saying like, oh, I'm wondering what to listen to, and I got like immediately like dogpiled by like 10 people being like, listen to my D&D, I'll be like, I'm not going to listen to any of these,
Exactly. exactly.
I don't know if that makes me like a bad podcast fan or whatever. I really actually don't listen to that many other RPG podcasts. Really, I don't want to get kind of like influenced by anybody, because then there's obviously the thing comes up of like, oh no, you listen to that podcast and you stole their ideas, and it's like, well, if I don't listen to anybody, I can't steal their ideas, sort of thing.
Yeah, we feel the same way. Like, Ty doesn't even listen to our own podcast because he doesn't want anything to change the way he plays.
Yeah.
Listen to any other RPG podcasts apart from obviously ones I've been in, because I like listening to myself and like the good times we've had, but because I'm scared that it'll play as well.
Yeah, you don't want it to bleed into. I mean,
I've never played with other people apart from these three guys.
And the Curse Crew.
Yeah, and the Curse Crew. Like, that was the first time I played with like absolute strangers. Like, really nerve-wracking for me because I was like, I don't know anything about RPing. I can barely build a character sheet. But obviously I had been playing a long time with my little crew because my husband introduced me to it and he wanted to involve me.
Yeah. When did you... how long have you been playing then, like, overall? Just sort of... When did you come to role-playing games? Bringing it back to the interview thing. See, I'm not completely useless at this.
You're a good interviewer. Since we moved to Japan, like a social aspect of like it was just me and my husband, and that's like not healthy.
Yeah.
Like, but I think like Mike, Jamie, and Ty started. I think they RP'd in high school,
right?
And then they tried to text RPG in like a messenger thread.
So sort of like the DM's just like typing everything out kind of thing, and
which I used to do on anime forums, which is weird, but like I used to join in with like I used to go on a Tenchi Muyo fanfic archive.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, Tenchi Muyo fanfic archive was like this huge board, and I had a lot of like online friends that I ended up meeting in real life.
Yeah.
And they used to do RPG like just RPs, and I used to like casually join in there. But it was never you had stats or anything. It was purely roleplay.
Just like I do this, and then I say this, and yeah.
And then the DM DMs you and says, "Don't do that. Edit your post." And then when I moved to Japan, and then he was like, "Let's do this." I was like, "You have to make a sheet for me because I don't know what this is. This looks too hard." Then we did that for a couple of years until we had kids. And then when we come back to England, we started doing it again. So I don't know. I'd say seriously probably about 3-4 years.
Yeah. Still, so it's pretty much it's. Did you say it was it mainly D&D you played when you first started then? And yeah, and then you've kind of kept that up on the podcast and obviously branching out with Call of Cthulhu and stuff. Yeah.
I love Call of Cthulhu. I think it's maybe my favourite system because we play them as one shots, so it's always I don't know, it's always resolved at the end, and it's always like I love Monster of the Week type things.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm finding the system very interesting because I hadn't played it before our first recording session of it, basically. So it was a bit of a kind of I think it was a bit of a sort of change of pace, I think, from D&D and stuff. Like quite literally the pacing I found was different. I think because we're not really doing it so much as a Monster of the Week type thing. It's more of a kind of, these guys are sort of, they're not, because your characters are like a detective agency, right? Am I right in thinking that? Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Whereas our player characters are very much like just random people who happen to get swept up in a thing. So it's a bit more of a sort of, I don't know. I'm finding pacing-wise, it's a little slower than our D&D thing, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because we've got a lot of. Yeah, we've got. Well, no, I think that just might be the way I'm running it, where I'm a little bit sort of new to the system, but I think it works because we've had quite a lot of fun. Sort of, there's a lot of room in there for like a lot of role-play and character conversations and things, which I quite like. Which often in D&D, it's kind of okay. We're talking about the task at hand, or like we're talking about this character we just met, or whatever. But I don't know. It might just be, roll of the dice of like how this group is interacting, whatever. But it's I'm enjoying it. It's a different kind of vibe to it, and that. And see when this,
I love the dice rolls are my favorite because they're so extreme.
Oh yeah, that was a bit of an adjustment.
Like one of our characters died, like. and when we've done one shots of Call of Cthulhu, like I don't mind dying, like because it's always epic and silly, but it's always like within like I don't know, Mike's always like tends to do it in like small English villages.
That's kind of what we're doing as well. I've made like a kind of like a fake version of the town I actually live in, just giving it a slightly different name, and it's set in the 30s. Sort of thing.
Or the 30s, I was going to say.
Yeah.
What area are you playing in? We always do the 20s.
I think that's kind of the default in the book, is it's assuming 1920s. I think because I'd had some sort of plot ideas of like I didn't want it to be too close to World War One, but there still to be some sort of fallouts from it, just based on some story stuff, which I won't say here because those episodes haven't gone up yet. But so I don't know. It was just it was a bit of story-focused thing, and then also because I wanted there to be kind of people that they could run into in the town who are sort of loosely based on real people. And I had this fun idea that maybe they could run into my granddad and his brother as kids, sort of thing. And I had my granddad and his brother walking along the road, and I made sure to even say I think it was Amy at the time. I was like, yeah, so you see two young boys walking along, thinking like, okay. I pointed it out as like a kind of here's some people you talk to, and she was just like, okay, I continue smoking my cigarette. I was like, all right.
Are you sure you don't want to talk to them?
Yeah, no, I didn't want to push the thing. Because I didn't have anything particular for them to contribute to the story. I was just like, it'd be fun to put some stuff in from like real life. And
have to return.
Yeah, I'll bring them up. Yeah, I'll come up with a way. It'd be fine. But yeah, that was kind of my thought. Was like, okay, we'll do like a sort of much smaller, kind of slightly spookier version of the town I'm in, without the giant town next door,
What monsters have you had in Cthulhu then? Or is it ghosts or?
We haven't really got to that point in the episodes that are up so far, so I don't really want. Well, actually, even in the bits that we've recorded, but there's definitely something creepy going on, and it's a little bit of a kind of custom sort of creature type thing I'm thinking, but I don't really want to spoil it too much. But
we've had homunculus.
Okay, yeah,
and that was funny, but that was really weird.
I've heard the descriptions are a little tricky to grab in. At least where I've gone through the book and that, I'm thinking like, how am I going to describe this in a way that doesn't sound silly? A lot of the time,
they do always like my husband even puts quite a comedic effect on it. Like they were like, "Hey."
Just some like really light-hearted homunculi.
Little townsfolk like, "Hey, good morning." Well, the characters are like, "What is actually happening?"
Everybody's like super upbeat about everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Call of Cthulhu. I'll play that all day long.
Yeah. I am enjoying it on ours. It's something a bit different, and we'll see how this. I don't even know how this is going to end yet. We've done the first. We've got the first 4 episodes of it recorded. I've no idea how long it's going to go on for because they keep the players, as usual, keep throwing curveballs at me. I had a whole scene planned, which was going to be like at the end of the second episode, which would lead to like a big cliffhanger. And it was with Amy's character, and I was expecting her to like go one way, which would lead to this big kind of shocking kind of thing, and she's just like, "Nah, I don't want to go in there," and just walked off. And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Oh my god!
But like that was my own fault, really, because like if I'd have thought about it, it'd be like, "Yeah, okay, well, why would her character go in there?" But like, it's so it's I suppose because it's a new game. Like I've run D&D for years, so I can kind of not predict, but you get a good idea of like, okay, if I do this, the players are likely to do this sort of thing. But where I haven't really run a lot of Call of Cthulhu, it's a new experience for me.
Maybe that's why. Maybe I don't know. I'm not a DM, but maybe that's why it's a bit easier when people have like proper jobs and stuff. because they would have like the motivation to want and go to investigate. And
yeah, I can see that working.
Because I've been a journalist before, and and then we're detectives.
Yeah.
So you kind of like, everyone loves being a detective.
And they've got a reason to be investigating as well. Yeah.
Any bit do not like is where you have to roll for sanity, and a situation for roll for sanity is coming up, and it's like, do you touch the scary ornament? Do you look into its eyes? I'm like, no.
Just a big hint there of like, do you do the thing that's going to make you have to roll? Do you?
No. Yeah, all right then. Oh fuck, got insane.
So what have you got coming up next on the podcast there? Because like you say, you've just wrapped up your second season of D&D. Are you doing more Cthulhu? I might have asked this earlier, actually.
I think we're going to see. Well, Ty's being very cagey about how long he wants to run Chronicles of Darkness.
Oh yeah, of course. World
I
of
think
Darkness,
I think he's nervous about because the Shadowrun game didn't go very well. I personally think it was quite good because I was like, come on guys, let's just role play, let's just improv. So I think he's nervous after Shadowrun, and because it kind of slowly faded out and no one played it, and it's kind of sad. He says he's going to do 4 sessions. Maybe about 2 months worth of episodes, but I think hopefully it'll go on a bit longer, and he'll get his DM hat on and be satisfied with a conclusion.
Oh, that's cool. And like you say, it's going to be a kind of cyberpunk type thing.
Different stats for different seasons, like different systems. Do you find if you jump around?
What's kind of getting my head around the different stats, or how do you mean?
Oh, I mean on your listeners, do you find people?
Oh, listener stats.
Do they drop off if you change a different system? Because we've never done it long term. We've only done it as one shots.
I've definitely seen a couple of sort of bumps, but they could be down to other things. Like our first time we switched away from D&D, we had a kind of crossover with my friends Liam, Matt and Paul do a Star Trek podcast, and they came over and played Star Trek Adventures, and that was just as that game system was coming out, so we had a big bump in listens there. But also they were pushing it quite a lot on their podcast and things, so I don't know what's what caused the bump there. But I do tend to find, because we do these sort of short story arcs, that there's always a bit of a spike on the first episode, sort of thing. So yeah, it's tricky to know really, and then depends what people are interested in. Every time we say we're switching, we do give people a sort of bit of notice, like say, starting next week, Shadowrun, or starting next week, Call of Cthulhu. And every time we have had a couple of people sort of saying like, oh, I'll be interested in listening to that. So we are picking up people who are more interested in that system each time, I think. Is whether they stick around for the other stuff. That's the that's the thing.
Yeah. Also, I have another question for you. I know you're the interviewer.
No, it's fine. Yeah. It's more of a casual conversation / interview.
We never hardly ever address the listener.
Okay.
That's like a bad thing?
No, it's just a different. I mean, we don't really do it in game at all.
Yeah,
it's
just you do the voiceover.
Yeah, I do like an intro and an outro where I'm like, I sort of do announcements and stuff up top, and then at the end I'll sort of be like, thanks for listening. If you want us, check us out on Twitter and Facebook and whatnot here and there. But in game, it's really only if we're making a joke and we're breaking the fourth wall and stuff, that kind of thing.
A bit embarrassing.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I did. Obviously, you did the manga cast first, but I did before this. I did 5 years of a sort of just general kind of nerd sort of geek pop culture thing with my friend Nathan, who then moved away.
Did
I did, yeah, for 5 years. It's not online anymore because I stopped paying the hosting fees when we finished doing it. But
Ow.
Yeah, it was so we kind of got all of the sort of awkwardness about talking into microphones and stuff out of the way, and the first couple of episodes of that are they're not good. Let's put it that way. We're both like, okay, I guess how about we talk about that kind of
vibe. We tried doing a free flow couple of episodes for the manga forum. Like usually we read like 1 to 3 volumes of a manga and then we have something to talk about.
Yeah.
And we're like, let's try free flow chill chat, and it was so bad. And then my partner's like, I can see her Googling stuff. And I'm like, babe, talk to me.
Yeah. It does take some getting used to, just to sort of just being able to kind of, you know, talk kind of naturally, I think, on a microphone. You sort of, I mean, we very much were like, I mean, it was just me and my mate. We didn't have any kind of illusions about anybody wanting to listen to us. And even then we were super awkward. So I think it just comes with time. And like, I've got to the point now where like mostly, I mean, I'll type up a kind of loose script when I do my intro and outro bit. But like, I'm pretty much doing it in one take every time. Just sort of, okay, here's what I want to say. It's just more to remind me of what I want to say. Whereas before I was very much...
we want to do a bonus episode where we shouted out all of the like loyal listeners.
Yeah.
Because on SoundCloud you can see like so-and-so's listened to it like 200 times. Or
That's
whatever.
a good idea.
We didn't bring ourselves to do it because we just felt like 8-year-olds with like tape recorders. Like, hey, this is the Lexa show. And we just like can't do it. It's too embarrassing.
Yeah. That is how it kind of feels at first, though. That's really. I mean, my old show was called Sup Dude, which is like a stupid name. Like, yeah, I know. But like, it was kind of, you know, we were stuck for names, and we always realized like whenever we like meet up, we're like, hey, sup dude, you know. It was just kind of how we would sort of greet each other every time. So it was like, well, we'll call the podcast that. But that was very much how those early episodes of that, where it was like, we feel real, you know, kind of dumb, you know, a little bit sort of like, okay, I guess we're going to talk about this and stuff, you know. It's
we're professionals.
Yeah. Yeah. So you get kind of used to it and that. I mean, it's interesting, funny. But like you say, you put the time in, you get used to it. But yeah,
I found my acting was like, I think did I tell you guys like I got feedback of someone, and I can't remember who it was, but they found me on Discord. He said that I was iffy.
Oh, that's not
on
good.
The first couple of episodes.
Oh, I think you did mention this to me actually.
Yeah. And I was like, I think it's true. I don't think I was so bad, but definitely compared to then versus now, like I am acting.
It's not really constructive feedback though, really, is it? Just to be like, oh, that's a bit iffy, you know.
But I do see where he's coming from, because I don't speak very much, because I was just like, I don't know. I was thinking I still had like baby brain. Very shy. Like, I think it took me like quite a long time in Curse as well to really like.
I need to go back and listen to the first few episodes of that. I forget what we did and stuff in the early episodes.
I think Matt made it very easy to
Yeah, Matt just dived straight in.
Yeah, you can tell he is like he's always looking for like the puzzles and like he's very quick on catching on to Nikolai's NPCs and places and where we're going, whereas I'm just the type of person who like cannot keep up. That makes me sound stupid, but
I was really bad. I was really bad at remembering place names and character names. Like, I knew who we were talking to, but like it'd be like, oh no, that was in that town, and I'd be like, okay, I know it was one of the two. I don't remember where we were. You know, like I know what we were doing, but I can't remember. There's like a couple of place names that were vaguely similar, and I just in my brain I hadn't. I don't know. It's 100% my fault because Nikolai's a great DM, but like I just hadn't. Like, you know, kind of distinguish them enough in my own brain, so I kept thinking like, I know what the two place names are, I don't know which one we were at. And same with like it like say you were talking to this guy and it'd say a character name, and in my brain I was like, I've heard that name before, I don't remember who it was. You know,
I feel like we kept changing their nicknames so much that I genuinely had no idea who anyone was.
That was 100% our fault. We didn't like I'm really bad with I'm like it in real life as well, so it's not just like I'm not doing it to be rude in game or anything. I'm bad with names. Like
really
I'm fine with faces. Like I remember everybody I've talked to. I just like unless I'm speaking to them a lot and often, I forget the name. Especially if I've only been introduced once or something. I don't know. It's I
find it hard. I remember once like Ty and Mike and I did a Call of Cthulhu, and they were like getting very annoying when we've just explained the situation and the plan for what we're going to do. Then you say, so what's the plan? Just like, I was like, okay, I need to step up my game and be like super engaged.
Yeah.
Like,
it's something I need to work on as well.
No, I found it hard in Curse as well. Like, I felt very on edge when like I didn't know anyone, and like
it's different with a new group and that, I suppose, as well. But we've been doing Plummet recently, and see that I've been quite like, obviously Nikolai's running it, and I've known him for a while now, and that's good. And Amy and Belry are both in that as well, so there was a bit of sort of familiar there.
Yeah, you get confident. Like when we came back for the reunion, I felt like a different woman. Like I was like, I feel confident. Like I know these people.
Yeah. Like
I'm so ready for the story.
And I mean, when did we start Curse? It was like February, was it? Something like that?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't even know. It went on for a long time, so it's hard to say.
I got a bad memory. It's not good. I've forgotten like whole people I went to school with. That's how bad it is. And, like my friends will bring it. I'll be like, "Hey, remember when this person did this?" And I'll be like, "I don't even remember that person, let alone when they did that."
I don't even remember a lot of stuff that happened before I had a child for a while. Like my husband would be like, "Remember when we went to see this, or we went on this road trip in Japan?" I'd be like, "I literally do not remember that at all." But yeah, I think that's probably one of my biggest weaknesses as a player, is staying properly engaged, which I'm not proud of, but I do try.
Yeah. I think I need to get better at taking notes.
I think I used to be like, why are people writing down things all the time? Now I'm like, okay, now I understand.
Like when we're recording over Discord, I find it, because obviously I'm sat on my computer, it's like I've got a really loud keyboard, so I'm trying to be like considerate to my microphone picking up my keyboard noise and ruining the recording, so I don't type. But like I can't be bothered to sit at my computer and write in my notebook, if you know what I mean. So but I need to get better
about doing it, to be fair. Like,
yeah, and I think part of it is that I'm used to being the DM as well, so like I know the stuff because we're running it in my world. I've written all the stuff myself. Like any notes I've got in front of me are my like world building notes rather than anything else, because I know what's going to happen. So, and I know who the characters are, so I'm not used to writing down like, we met this person here, we met this person here, this person is this, and I need to get out of DM mode and into player mode, and I'm really bad at that. So this is basically this has been an hour-long conversation to apologise to Nikolai for being a terrible player.
Yeah, both of us. If you ever felt that way.
Yeah, that's right. I'll get him on here at some point. We'll do a similar conversation, and I'll apologise to him in person. But
and send my apologies to you. But I feel like, I don't know, the reunion was so good. I was really happy with that.
Yeah, that was fun. Even with Barry spilling soy sauce on the bed.
It was actually my fault.
It was kind of funny though. It was just like there was just a pause, and then there's soy sauce on the bed.
I just tried to clean up his mess, and he'd left it open. So when I moved it spilled, and I was like, I was so embarrassed.
I'm just glad we weren't recording in my hotel room. We were doing it in this, because I was like, I've only got one bed in here, and if you guys spill soy sauce on it.
I felt so bad. I was like, we're making it smell in here. Like, there's cans everywhere. Like, I feel so bad for those guys. So I tried to clean up, and they're like, don't worry about it. I'm like, okay. I'm sorry.
It was fun though, and we finished off Curse quite nicely, I think.
Like, Belry did such a good job. I wonder if he thought of switching characters.
I mean, I feel like he didn't seem too surprised by it. At least I don't remember him being that surprised, so maybe it was kind of like a thing ahead of time. And obviously, like, they'd sort of planned out that he wasn't going to be playing Karen from the beginning, so he must have known a little bit about what was going on.
That's what I always wonder. Like, Belry is like, loves going on a tangent, but he plays characters really well.
Yeah. So you're thinking the tangents is all like a smoke screen for him to be like secretly like
his characters. Yeah. Some people are just really good though. Like Matt's really quick as well.
Yeah.
I say the same as my friend Jamie. I think he's so good when he's a player. He's so on the ball, so quick with jokes. Like, good.
Yeah. I feel like it depends what character I'm playing. Like when I'm DMing, I can be fairly quick if I've got an idea of what's going on in the scene anyway, because I'm sort of in like a comfortable space. I found with Curse I was having a little trouble with Osmond with comebacks to Matt's like cyberbullying of me. But
there was a lot of
I felt like Osmond was a bit of like the getting and he was catching a lot of flack that was undeserved, and like I didn't have a good we all know that Osmond moved a sheet with the knife. He did not stab a baby. I know, but that was in the first episode, and then I got treated to 24 episodes of being like, oh yeah, well, Osmond stabs babies, and like but I had no good response to it other than just like, oh, I'm gonna get you one day, Tubbs, and like
well, then it all turned on us bullying Tubbs, so
yeah. But
really badly.
It depends, but then I've been playing Igneous and on the Plummet series, and like I found it a bit easier to be making jokes and stuff. So I'm doing like quite a thick West Country accent and things, which was a mistake because like I can't do it with like if I've got a sore throat or anything. But yeah, it's fun though.
I really want to listen to that just because of Emily Darkness.
Ebony Darkness, yeah.
Ebony Darkness.
Barry, I think he only plays that character for like 2 episodes, and then he's just like, no, Ebony Darkness walks off.
Walks off!
It's quite funny. Like, I think that's the only one of Barry's characters to survive so far, because he decided not to play it anymore. But
I get really attached. Even D&D, I get so attached to my characters.
Yeah.
If the DM tried to kill one of mine, I'd be so cross.
Well, Plummet might not be the series for you then.
If you know from the beginning not to get invested.
Yeah, you can't get too attached because it's very... it's quite hack and slash sort of thing, and there's a lot of rules in it for like, okay, so this goes wrong, you can very easily lose a limb or something, or just, you can't get too attached. It's another one of Nikolai's sort of custom systems sort of thing. So yeah, it's quite interesting. I'd check it out. I think
I will.
I don't know how many episodes are up now. Maybe 10, maybe 11. But yeah, we're a few weeks ahead basically in recording. So yeah, check it out. And listeners as well, you all check it out. There we go. Now I'm addressing the listener.
And listen to the Dead Horse podcast. Available on iTunes and other things. Yeah.
Well, I was about to say, we're at about an hour. Should we can wrap things up with plugging everything. But yeah, there you go. Check out the Dead Horse podcast on was it SoundCloud, iTunes, all the places.
Podbean, other third-party apps that I don't know the name of.
Yeah, I found mine keeps like. I look on mine because the stats say where people are listening from. I'm just like that. I haven't even heard of that app, so I don't know where they've got this from.
I'm also on Stitcher.
Yes.
I don't know if that was more of a 2012 sort of app.
Yeah, I feel like that was like 5 years ago. It was like, oh, Stitcher, it's an alternative to like iTunes, and it's still going. But like, I don't know anyone who uses Stitcher. I've got it installed. I've got it installed to check that my episodes are going up, and that's about it. We are now on Spotify as well.
Oh, SoundCloud doesn't let us go on Spotify.
So it's a bit like because my I host on Podbean. There's actually an option where you can pretty much just one button click and it will go like, okay, we'll submit it to Spotify. Yeah.
Manga Forum's on Libsyn, so it goes on Spotify as well. But SoundCloud don't have that luxury for some reason. Never mind. Yeah,
that's a shame. But yeah, thanks for joining me. This is the very first bonus episode, so thanks for a fun interview. I hope you had fun.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah. I should probably actually do my normal wrap-up, so I don't have to edit much. Okay, so we'll be back next week with the second episode of our Call of Cthulhu storyline. In the meantime, you can contact us on Twitter and Facebook. We are at Pretend with Dice on both of those. You can email us at pretendingwithdice@outlook.com. There you go, that's an email address. And you can find Dead Horse. Is it just at Dead Horse or
actually at Horse Podcast?
At Horse Podcast. Do you get a lot of like confused like horse enthusiasts clicking onto it, or
No, luckily.
Yeah. But, good get with the Twitter handle, though, Horse Podcast.
It was because they kind of choose it for you, don't they? So I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, it's at Horse Podcast. I post on there quite a lot.
Yeah.
I do a little blogging on coffee as well, like little wrap ups and stuff. But yeah, check us out.
Do it. Cool. Okay. So thanks again, Lexa, and everybody else. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.